and I recall defining what a phrase is to us, where I said a phrase is a group of words that does not contain a finite verb. Because it does not contain a finite verb, it is unable to make a complete sense, idea, thought, or expression. And I remember highlighting the type of phrase we have in English language, 7 of them actually. And then we have the noun phrase, we have the adjectival phrase, there's the verb phrase, there's the adverbial phrase, there's the prepositional phrase, there's the gerund phrase, which are also called the verbal nouns, and then finally there's the participial phrase. But today we'll be looking at the noun phrase. And then big question is, what is a noun phrase? A noun phrase is a phrase that has a noun has its head word, and of course a number of qualifiers. A noun phrase is the one that introduces or points out a noun on any type in the sentence. Now, before I go further, I also need to bring to your cognizance that there are 2 basic type of nouns in English language. The very first one is the proper noun, and then we have the common noun. But you see, under the common noun, we also have types of nouns. Under the common noun, you have the concrete noun, you have the abstract noun, you have the countable and uncountable, and then finally you have the collective nouns. But then if you're being asked anywhere, how many type of nouns do we have in English language? Basically 2 of them, and that is the proper again, and of course the common noun. These 2, proper and common noun. So that's established. I want us to look at the function of a noun phrase, because this is like the technical part of studying a noun phrase. You know, when you are given a comprehension passage to answer, you know, there's this part that has I think has it in, if it is not F, then it's going to be G, either F or G. But then it comes in 2 forms. There's the F Roman numeral 1, and then there's the F Roman numeral 2. The F Roman numeral 1 will always come this way. What is the grammatical name of, there's an excerpt taken from the comprehension passage, and then it's pasted here. So what you ought to do is to find out what it represents, the grammatical name, whether it is a phrase or it is a clause. If it is a phrase, then you have to put it here carefully. What kind of phrase is it, or what kind of clause it is? I beg your pardon. And of course, F Roman figure 2 says what is its grammatical function, and that's what we'll be looking at now. So the function of a noun phrase can be determined or known based on the position that it occupies in the sentence where it is used. So that said, let's look at the types. We have a noun phrase functioning as a subject of the verb. The subject of the verb can also be called the performer of an action or the doer of an action. This is where a noun, yes, which usually begins the sentence, does or performs the verb. Yes, performs what? The verb, or it does the action as such. The action is also called the verb, so it's the subject of the verb. And then we have the object of the verb, that is the receiver of the action. Yes, the object coming behind to receive the verb this time around. And then finally we have the complement of the subject. So that said, let us look at some of these examples. Let's imagine that this particular example here was cut out from a comprehension passage and then given to us as for conjectures. Now F Roman numeral 1, we're having something like this: that general election was free and fair. Now, since we already have an inkling, more like a clue on what we are talking about, which is the subject of the verb, yeah, this is what we'll begin with. That's our clue. Then definitely that automatically becomes our grammatical name. But then we have to find out what exactly is the subject of the verb here. So that general election was free and fair. Don't forget the definition of a phrase again. A phrase, group of words without a finite verb. A phrase has to be devoid of a finite verb. So let's look at this. That general election was free and fair. So this is that. This particular word here is a pronoun. General here is an adjective, and then we have election, which happens to be a noun. The next thing here is a verb. So that means that our noun phrase would be that general election. So these qualifiers, these two are qualifiers pointing out the main noun in election. So what is the function of that general election? So first of all, let's put this as a grammatical name. How do we write that? You open quotation and then you write it this way: that general election is the noun phrase. End of quote. And there's a full stop. Now the next question is, what is the function of that general election? How do you put it? Now you open quote again. Now you can choose to rewrite this, put it here and then complete it, or you just say it. So the it in question is this, but then let's move on. It functions, that's how we put it. You always use the term functions as the subject of the verb. So what's the verb in question here? Was. This is an auxiliary verb, by the way. So it functions as the object of the verb, open quotation, was, end of quote, then full stop. No, I don't think we need this quotation. So that said, this is how we do it. Now the marking scheme has this one to be 1 mark and then this one 2 marks. So if you're able to attempt these two correctly, then you get 3 marks. That's how it works in comprehension passage. Yes, so that's it. The next one is, the man speaks about 4 languages. The man speaks about 4 languages. So the clue is still the same. Subject of the verb. So we have it as the subject of the verb. Yes, so what we need to do is to identify what the subject of the verb is here. The man speaks about 4 languages. So what's the subject of the verb here? Now if you look at the sentence, you'll find out that this is an article in THE. MAN is a noun. The next thing here happens to be what? A verb. So this is, I told you earlier that the subject of the verb, the subject rather, always begins the sentence. So this is what our subject looks like, right? The man speaks about 4 languages. So the man here is our subject, because the next thing after the man is a verb in speaks. So this right here is our subject, and our subject there is the noun phrase. So how do we write it? Open quotation, and then it becomes the man is the noun phrase. End of quotes. Now the follow-up is, what is the function of the man? It. What is the it in question? The man. So it functions as the subject of the verb. And what is the verb in question? This is our verb. This is our action here. Speaks of the verb. So open quotation, then we have speaks. End of quote, and then finally there's a full stop. So this is where we draw the curtain on this particular one today. The next video will be talking about the object of the verb, and of course I'll be reading off quite a number of examples to help us understand it well. So do well, or feel free to drop a comment in the comment section. Don't forget to like and of course repost this particular video. Thank you for your attention.